Go, 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 let's get it. I'm a trapping fanatic, that shit automatic, so I cannot turn it on or off. Bitches all on my dick, then she hop on my dick, I'm like, why you keep hopping on and off? Yo, bitch all on my dick, she be doing the most. I tell her, little bitch, she so extra. And my gun up on me, but not run up on me. Niggas, they wanna fight, they some wrestlers.
The vision of a world-class player. These eyes seem to be the key to what is needed to turn 0 into 1. But the protagonists of our story unlock them a little later on. So, let's change that. What if Yoichi Isagi discovered metavision earlier? The first big thing when doing a what if like this would be where he would discover such an ability. But I think changing his past, well, that makes it easier for us. So let's begin before he even enters Blue Lock. Yoichi Isagi is seen at the age of 6, wherein his parents discovered his football talents. The boy had an innate skill for the sport, and it came naturally to him. Seeing this, they wanted to turn his talents into something greater and began nurturing them early on, especially his mother, who, let's say, played professionally for Japan in the past. A young Yoichi Isagi would have trainers and play for different club teams in his local area, as well as playing for his school teams. Throughout his life, he taught the fundamentals of the sport and how it requires a team to win games. So in this story for the beginning, Isagi actually plays the center attacking midfielder position, or cam for short. His playstyle includes sharp and accurate passes to open up his teammates, as well as calculated and powerful shooting, which would unlock his direct shot technique way earlier on in this story. This young Isagi continued to flourish in the football world, looking up to players like Noel Noah, who would win World Cups and different in-season tournaments. As this would all lead to a middle school Isagi in his first district tournament. He was only 12 at the time, but his team would make it to the semifinals. The two teams battle it out, with Isagi actually scoring and gaining assists in this match. However, it wouldn't be enough to win, as it would still be tied towards the end of it. As in the final minutes, Isagi began thinking harder and harder. Just how? How could he get a goal so that his team could win? What would be the deciding factor in this match? Isagi closed his eyes, allowing all of this to run through his mind, until awakening a new ability. When the game continues on, Isagi can use his newly awakened spatial awareness to score the final goal with a direct shot to end the match. Still, as he was on a high horse, heading into the championship, he would be crushed by an even stronger team. With his natural abilities, spatial awareness, and direct shot, he wasn't enough at all, causing him to question his life as a footballer. All his life, he was told he would be great with those around him. But this loss, could it really be his fault? His coach and mother stated that it wasn't. So why did he lose? Why was this feeling so cruel? Why did he feel so desperate to do anything to win now? While looking deep into himself, Isagi would realize the way he was playing football had to be wrong. Trying to include others in his victory was completely foolish, especially since they didn't have the same desires as him to win. While sitting at dinner one night, Isagi would tell his mother and father that he wishes to change positions to that of a striker. His mother, who played the cam position as well, wanted to question this. However, before she could say anything, the words of her son pierced through her thoughts. For me to be able to be a striker, it means I decide the outcome of any game I play with my abilities and skill alone. I'll be the one to turn the score from 0 into a 1. If I become the best striker, then I can't lose. His father then calls this foolish because football is a team sport with 11 players on the field. If it is, then why is someone like Noel Noah so successful? He doesn't even play with his team. His mother would further question this, saying what he means, as Isagi takes a deep breath, standing up. From what I can see with these new eyes, Noel Noah doesn't play with his team. His own team follows his ideal. With this, Isagi begins his new journey to become a complete striker. So for now, He only plays with the club team and his trainers. This all leads to him awakening metavision in his final year of junior high before he turns 15. With this, he dominated for the next few games, but he also returned to play for Ichin High. And this means with metavision now awakened, Isagi soon realized his body could no longer keep up with his mind or his skills. And to take his game to the next level, he needed to train his body. And a reason that I could come up with why he wasn't training his body already, since his parents did have personal trainers working with them, it's simply he did, but not to the level that we're used to from Blue Lock. As he begins that now, actually going for a body similar to Noel Noah. So by the end of the season, this Isagi is much more muscular, so he can truly utilize metavision for an entire match. So, when Ichinan High faces Kira's junior high team, they completely obliterate them, with Isagi as their only striker. He holds nothing back, showing why he became a complete player. The coach even strategizes for playing around Isagi so to make sure that he could score. With this victory, Isagi claims to the world that a new age of football has already begun, as Japan will soon make their own comeback. Around the world, there are those known as the New Gen 11, but each one of them does recognize Isagi for his remarkable accomplishments, as Isagi is seen as uncrowned New Gen striker. As many reporters interview him, calling him the next big thing in football, but he ignores this, taking note of a man with glasses standing in the background while smiling. As he walks past another person and looks at that same position, the man was gone, as he left a sour taste in Isagi's mouth and his mind, wondering just who that was and why he felt so creeped out. After this match, Isagi is invited into Blue Lock. He doesn't know if he wishes to go, but he decides to check it out. This is where Ego's speech motivates Isagi, awakening him even further. He steps through, taking a good look at the man with glasses, recognizing him, as he was the one at the end of his match. Now, with Blue Lock beginning, Isagi was given the number 265, as he would enter and meet with Team Z. This Isagi's personality is much more quiet and reserved. He's very calculated when playing, so when the game of tag does begin, he doesn't get hit at all, no matter what. He actually avoids Monk, as do the rest of the team, which means instead of Kira being eliminated, Monk was, and he was forced to return to the temple. They would then have their own training to improve their physical abilities. But this was nothing to Isagi. He was so used to his own hellish training that this felt like a breeze. But knowing he needed to become the best, he increased the reps of all his training. This was the only way that he would see growth. The others on the team took inspiration from this and did so as well. As I haven't talked much, but Kira does, follow in Isagi's footsteps, trying to become better than him to one day defeat him. As for Bachira, he senses a different kind of monster within Isagi, something his imagination doesn't even let him see. And with their first match being declared, they wondered who would play the striker position, but Isagi claimed he would be playing up front whether they like it or not, and if they wanted to win, they would listen to him. Isagi picks out everyone's positions, and then says this is the lineup best suited for his success. The others would of course argue, believing that they could do better than him, but Kira would speak through the fog, saying that they should give it a chance at least and just see what happens. When they do, Isagi walks off to go train. Anri and Ego both watch him, with Anri saying that this one is a little different, and Ego sits back. Yes, he is. The unranked or uncrowned new gen striker, Yoichi Isagi, from a young age, was watched due to his mother being such a prominent face in football. Even though she doesn't play the striker position, it seems that in his search for glory, it was passed on to him. Ego then looks at the screen, wondering how the first match would go with him playing against another team. Could he really lead them, the worst team supposedly in Blue Lock, to victory? When the match began, of course everyone was still fighting for the ball. Through it all, Isagi steals it and begins dribbling ahead, with only Baru chasing after him. He stops and then spins around the king, bursting away with even more speed. Baru thinks a move like that was impossible to pull off, but Isagi was already gone. He dribbled through defenders with ease, and then sent a left-footed shot into the net. He claims that this will be easy enough, so make this fun for him. The king, angered by this, tries to respond, but with his new vision, Isagi is able to stop him, seeing through the attack, calling out to the midfield, while Raichi and Kunigami would body block him, leaving it open for Kira to steal the ball and get it to Bachira sitting across. The young footballer dribbles it with the monster, demolishing those in front of him, but then crosses it back to Isagi. Raichi and Kuon call this a wasted attack since Isagi was on his own, but this is when he shows off his jumping ability, trapping the ball with his chest and then kicking it while still in the air to score another goal. With this super goal now under his belt, Isagi clutches his fist, celebrating that he was able to pull off a volley like this, of this caliber, so easily in a match. He knew it was possible for him to do this, but now, it opened up a brand new realm of shooting for him. So this is what Blue Lock truly has in store for him. He likes it, this feeling. It's overwhelming. It's almost addicting. The match, of course, continued, with Baru eventually getting by and getting off another shot, but it's stopped by Gagamaru, who has been trained with Isagi shooting against him, so this was nothing. As for the rest of Team Z, they continue to contribute to the 6-0 win against Team X. Isagi, of course, had 4 goals for himself, but I believe Bachira and Kunigami would each have 1, with an assist from Raichi, Kuon, and Kira. The team, or Team Z, realized that Isagi is on a completely different level when it comes to football, and they haven't even seen anything just yet. As now for our king Baru, he was devastated by the loss to what was supposed to be the weakest team. So he looks to Isagi, asking what made him like this, what made him become so strong. Isagi turned to him smiling. The same feeling you have right now. Loss, desperation, agony, guilt, all of it. And that's what made me to the person I am today, because I don't ever wish to have that feeling when doing something I love again. With that, Isagi exits the field, celebrating with the rest of his team for their first victory, as that night he reviews the match and the highlights, especially his own goals, to see what could be improved on, which is when Kira walks into the room, as the two have their own conversation, and we don't get to see much of it, but this all leads to their very next match. Although I will say before this match, their team does talk about their weapons and a strategy, but Isagi reveals his own, stating he can do everything that they can do, just better. None of it matters because he'll score and change 0 into a 1 time and time again, no matter how many times they need him to. Goals can be produced by those who wish to change the reality they currently face. The team is now later seen walking back onto the pitch where Team Y would greet them. They actually do outpace this team really well because of the more intense training that they've been doing. This Isagi, or version of him, is slowly causing a butterfly effect in Team Z and those around him, especially in the characters who we've grown accustomed to seeing from the main cast. Isagi throws up his hand, saying that they can't lose here, not until they reach the top. With this match now kicking off, all the players rush around and try to steal the ball, but it seems that Team Y has their own plan and they're just passing it around. Isagi still predicts one of the passes that would go to Iki Nico and then gets open. Team Y and their defenders crowd Isagi, making it impossible for him to see the goal. Kunigami stood next to him, so instead of passing, he fakes the pass, turning their heads to the right, and with this, Isagi then sprints through them, taking a left-footed shot going into the net. As Nico claims, it's just like they predicted. They have no hope in winning this match unless they can stop Yoichi Isagi. Nico and Isagi lock eyes, making it so that he could feel the intensity from him. Seems like your plan didn't work at all. So now, what will you do? Isagi smirks, returning to the side of his field, where the game would reset. And as for the match, I don't think Team Y even stands a chance against Isagi and Team Z that has too many offensive players. When trying to stop them from getting the ball, the team can't, because Isagi can call out the passes before they even happen, making steals and plays for his team. Kira was also one to realize that Nico and Okawa were pulling the strings, so he man-marked him, stopping him from doing anything. As for the others, like Raichi and Kunigami, as well as Kuon, they were their defensive anchors, not letting anything go through, with Isagi, Batra, and Chigiri taking hold of the offense to win the match. And yes, I say Chigiri here, as I previously stated that Isagi's intense training had a butterfly effect, mentally and also physically, on Team Z, meaning that Chigiri had returned to his normal playstyle, making his team even stronger. And since Team Z is also strong here, I don't think Kuon would betray them for the same reasons he did in canon. But let's make this interesting for them, as he betrays them for the sake of his own goals. Leading up to their next match against Team W, Isagi begins to understand more and more about his impact on the field. As a naturally good player, he will draw defenders to him, so he must find a way to overcome his defenders in any situation. This begins to spark another idea within his head. He goes to the practice field, where Kunigami walks in to see the ball going into the back of the net, with Isagi leaning forward. In an almost awakened-like state, Isagi clutches his fist with a smile, saying that this was the weapon that he needs. Kunigami was curious, asking Isagi to show him, but Isagi stated it's not like he would be able to see it. But why don't they have a 1v1 to test it out? Isagi then grabs the ball holding it, and then dashes forward with Kunigami defending. Isagi keeps him close on purpose, but dribbles around him, and makes it through him. He then makes the striker look like a child, and it's not like Kunigami could body off Isagi since they were about the same size here. Isagi then pushed him off, turning around and spinning for a shot. While watching him shoot, Kunigami states that he's just going to block it with his chest, only for him to hear a loud crack and the ball rolling against the net. He then turns back, seeing it in the goal, and then back to Isagi, who was walking away out of the practice field room. Thanks for the practice, but I think I need to do it in a real match. With the next match soon beginning, Isagi stands at the center of the field looking ahead. So this was Team W. They're not too impressive when looking at them, but those two twins, they do get his attention. And since he's already scored so many goals, Isagi knows that he had theirs. So when the game begins, he passes it off to the right, and he runs ahead, making them both guard him. Then another defender comes, making it impossible for him to get open, or so it seems. The twins then begin to talk trash, until he runs back to receive a pass from Kira, while he turns with the ball, with one of them now being behind him, and another, or two more, in his path. They say that they can't go around him, and Isagi laughs, lifting his head and showing off his metavision, stating he'll just go right through him. He passes it back to Kira, who instantly lobs the ball over their heads so that Isagi can break through them and trap it. The two twins then shout for their team to defend, and even Kuon appears in the way of his shot, as Raichi tells him to pass it to Batra or Chigiri, who are open on the wings, but Isagi states that's not his job. A loud crack is then heard, as the ball flies right by their heads and into the net. Isagi holds up his fists. This is what I was missing. A true shooting technique, which is the evolution of my direct shot. This is my new direct outburst. And with this, he doesn't need a pass to increase the power of his shot. Isagi can focus 100% of his shooting strength on the ball to create an outburst in speed and power, but the accuracy is lowered. However, to counter the loss in accuracy, Isagi is able to use metavision to actually negate it and increase his accuracy when he shoots it, depending on his position. And with this shot, Jinpachi Ego smiles while watching on the screen. So that was your plan. Very interesting. You surely are a very polished gem, Yoichi Isagi. With Kuon's intentions and now revealed, Team Z was on high alert. But it wouldn't matter here, as Kira was able to awaken his own spatial awareness of the field, which allowed more creative passes to be flushed out throughout this match. Isagi began ramping up his intensity at which he played, not holding back at all, showing off his metavision and his other weapons, with the Wanima twins trying to come up with any way to stop him, but they just can't at all. Just what could they do? Kuon then takes over, man-marking Isagi, cutting off his passes. He believes that this was the only way to defeat him, so he continues to do so, which gains his new team one goal from it, tying up the game again. But Isagi didn't really care for any of that. When the game resumes play, Isagi makes him fall to the ground because of his strength. Now that he was open, Bachira was able to pass, leading to more goals from Isagi. No matter what they tried to do, it just seemed like they couldn't stop him. I think Kuon will get embarrassed here time and time again, with Isagi learning how to truly adapt to being defended so heavily. And he's able to do a lot more things. As for the goals that he scores in this game, they come from off-ball movement and quick shooting, as he doesn't even look at the ball when it's being passed to him. He just knows that it's coming his way. He can feel it. It's a different type of sense, almost like a goal sense. And they don't just come from that. He takes dribbles and breaks down defenders to score more goals. As for the rest of Team Z, players like Raichi, Kunigami, Chigiri, Kira, and Bachira also do shine due to their own skills, as it's not like they don't exist here because of Isagi and how strong he is. In fact, they actually seem a lot stronger than they would in canon because of him. With Raichi becoming a more serious one-on-one defender, Kunigami increasing his shot range, Chigiri upgrading his own stamina and his burst in speed, and Bachira and his monster becoming even more of a crazy duo. But Kira was a little different, in that he was watching Isagi closely to learn from him, taking some of his attributes on for himself. And he would see that through his own spatial awareness, but his would be a little different than the one that Isagi gained in the original story, as Kira would be able to see the path to a goal for others instead of himself, being able to predict how he should pass it to them, making him sort of the ultimate midfielder in a way. As at the end of it all, it's of course another win for Team Z, who will currently be undefeated, as Isagi goes to the dining hall, where he sees Kuon trying to sell out their team once again to Ryo and Nagi, as well as Zantetsu. Isagi just walks by them, not caring at all, with Ryo actually being the one to speak up, asking if Isagi thinks he's better than Nagi. Our protagonist chuckles, saying he doesn't think that, he actually knows it for a fact. And with that, a declaration of war happened between the two prodigies. Team Z does their own research on their final opponents, wondering what their team would be like, and it seems that they play through their top 3 dogs on the team. Zantetsu with his speed, Ryo with his passes and all-around skills, and Nagi, who had the most goals through his trapping techniques. Isagi, while sitting down and watching, states that none of this matters, and they'll win no matter what. Those 3 don't yet have the drive to become the best, especially Seishiro. Isagi then walks out of the room, noting that this match will be just like the rest. He then heads to the weight room, and someone actually joins him, that being Kunigami. As Isagi zones out, saying to himself, "More. I need more. More than I have now, so that I can become the very best." The match soon arrives, as Team V starts with the ball going on to their own attack. Zantetsu and Ryo are able to maneuver around Team Z, getting the ball to their own prodigy. This is where Raichi and Kunigami defend, actually stopping the shot attempt by cutting off his angles. Now, with possession, Team Z begins a counter that starts with Bachira dribbling the ball. Ryo is playing defense, but allows Bachira to get by, saying that they're quite interesting. The players then focus on Isagi, who receives a pass, with Zantetsu right behind him. Isagi then stops, turning and flicking the ball over his head, heading in the opposite direction. which leads to the first goal of the match, where Isagi walks off like it was nothing, and Ryo wonders why he was so strong, but on the worst ranked team. But he doesn't try to go into details. Instead, the two teams just go back and forth trading goals. Nagi finds all of this to be a drag, because whenever he scores, it seems like Isagi comes back and scores with a goal of his own, which was more spectacular. And with the clock slowly winding down, both teams knew that they had to stop the other's prodigy. Nagi also began to awaken throughout this match, competing with Isagi, because this was the first time where he felt like he could truly lose. Although with him not being fully ready to awaken, Isagi took advantage of this, tapping into a higher level of play. While using Metavision for the second half of the match, Isagi completely destroys Ryo and Zantetsu, as those two, well, they could do nothing to stop him, especially with Kira and Bachira alongside him as outlets to pass to. Isagi was able to dribble around Ryo, outspeed Zantetsu, and even trap the ball around defenders. With his shooting ability now off the charts, I think his new direct outburst technique would prove to be very useful, as this would be an amazing match between the two teams, but I think Seishiro's awakening would happen a bit late in this game, so their loss would be inevitable, meaning that now the first selection of Blue Lock was complete, as now the team would do their intense training for 10 days to push themselves to their very limits, and with Isagi focusing on his endurance and strength, as well as his football IQ, meaning that this training will be very beneficial to his metavision as well as his physical attributes, which would lead to the second stage of Blue Lock, where, before heading into the shooting drill, they watch as Itoshi Rin performs his signature move, letting the two curved shots connect in the room, making a loud sound and impression on the rest of everyone else. But as he heads in, all you can hear is the loud crack of the direct outburst slamming into the wall, leaving a sort of mark, as we see Isagi head in right after him. And there isn't much to go over, besides Isagi passing through this drill very quickly, heading into another room, where he now stands across from the person who entered before him. Itoshi Rin and Yoichi Isagi then make eye contact for the very first time. With their auras now clashing, we don't know who would make the first move. The stare down is intense, but leads to the monster duo teaming up with the shy Tokimitsu once he had arrived. With them being the first to head into the 3v3 stage, Ego explains how this selection works. Isagi looks to Rin, wondering where he had seen him before, but then it clicks in his mind. He's played with someone who looks very familiar to him, but it was a long time ago, so he doesn't speak on it as he doesn't remember the person's name. Tokimitsu will try to make conversation, stating that they should come up with a plan, but Isagi tells him to shut up. It's clear enough what this stage is for. It's to show off our individual talents and climb to the top. There's only one plan, and that's to score. So, if you shoot, make sure you don't miss. Ren looks to Isagi, saying that that's what he planned to tell him, causing the two to already have it out for each other. The next three to make it through the doors is Kira, Bachira, and Nagi. When seeing them, Isagi would smile, as he knows that they'll win, but he wonders what this team will do to stop him this time. The six then head to the field, where Isagi has the ball under his feet. The game will begin and he rushes in, with Nagi and Kira both standing in his way, but to their shock, he sends it out and back to Rin. This was when he hit a curved shot into the net, scoring the first goal, which makes them realize that this team was actually on a completely different level than they had realized. They stood no chance at all, with Nagi being the only one to score a goal. Isagi had 3, while Rin would just have 2, as Rin notes that Isagi played just like his brother. It was annoying, but it makes him set goals in his mind. If he can work to defeat Isagi, then his brother should be next. Now, when picking someone to move on with them, Isagi decides to choose Nagi instead of Bachira or Kira. Come with me, Seishiro. I'll show you what it means to be a true striker. They would move on, but had to wait until Kira and Bachara returned with Baru and Shigiri now on their team. But until then, we would see Isagi and Nagi continuously going head to head in training. Time and time again, Nagi loses, with Isagi questioning why he was here in the first place. There was no reason for him to be here, with no ego at all, no motivation. He doesn't even want to be the best. Does he find all of this amusing? Is that why? Is this some sort of game to him? Because if that's the case, Isagi will be the one to send him home. Nagi wonders what he truly wants. He thinks about Ryo's own dream of becoming the duo to win a World Cup. But what Nagi wanted when he thought about it, of course it was to win a World Cup. But I think Nagi might discover an ideal towards his true ego, meaning that these one-on-one battles would get more intense by the days going on, which leads him to his new style of play that Isagi calls exciting. It was different from how he usually played. During their one-on-one battles, Nagi actually scores, shocking Isagi. So it seems like you do have a little fight left in you. But looking at you, there's no way for you to keep up. The two then turn, hearing the door, as this is when Kira walks in, challenging them once again, as Isagi smiles, saying he knew he'd be back. But it's over. With the final match now set in stone, the next day all 8 players return to the field, ready to go, as this would be the final match before this stage was almost complete. Kira shows off his spatial awareness that he had evolved to work offensively and defensively. Isagi now runs ahead with the ball, sending it right to Rin, who shoots, going for a signature Trivela shot, but as soon as it gets close to goal, Baru heads it back out, and then it begins flying through the air. Kira and Bachara both go for the ball, but Nagi traps it first, as he then spins around the two of them, getting open quickly, as his eyes were glowing. Baru was still in the defensive position, so he blocks the path, saying that he can't shoot through him, but Nagi flicks the ball, going around him, and it curves right around Baru's head and into the net. With the first goal scored, it caused Kira to realize that anyone around Isagi has a chance to evolve to an even greater player than before. This must be the true style of play of Seishiro Nagi, the formless striker. A striker who can use trapping to manipulate the pace and flow of the match with his goals. Now knowing what they were getting into, the challengers begin to panic in a way. When they try their own attack, it's stopped by Tokimitsu and Nagi, as these two get the ball up to Isagi, who battles Rin and their defenders, going for the next goal. Isagi would smirk, saying that he knew stuff like this would happen, as it was in his predictions. As during the continuation of this match, Isagi is seen creating space, different dribble combos that lead to highlight plays, and even amazing goals against his defenders. I won't say that he scores every goal, but he scores 3, while Nagi and Rin both have their own. Now it was time to choose their final member before completing this selection. Isagi looks back at all 4 of them and actually chooses Baru. Come serve me, you tyrant king. Baru stands up, saying that a king serves no one. Isagi then corrects him, saying that a king must submit to the one who gave him that power. The 5 monsters then move on into the next room, where we would see Ego congratulating them. Well, it seems that luck has been on your side so far. So let's see if that very same luck can go up against these world-class players. With the screen now changing, Isagi sees the real challenge that was right in front of him. So this is the true world of football. Something like this was unimaginable. But now seeing this is what he was seeking. True competition. With these 5 players now knowing what they were up against, Isagi immediately went to train. If he wanted to win against players like them, he needed to tap into that very same state again, triggering his own true awakening. But how could he do such a thing? He thinks back to the catalyst for Nagi and his own awakening, as well as Baru and his king mentality. But what did Isagi want? Of course he wanted to win a World Cup, but it was more than that. He wanted to be the very best. The number one in the world. He wanted every match of football he played to be orchestrated just how he wanted, how he imagined. So what type of catalyst would he need for that? What could take him to new heights by unleashing his own potential at will? These thoughts haunted his mind until he began to replay every moment of football that he's played in his life, where he felt like he was in a new state of play. His puzzle-like pieces in his mind then conform the complete puzzle that makes Yoichi Isagi a striker. As now in his mind, he can visualize a chessboard with him standing above it. And with this, he also sees each player on the field as puppets with strings attached to them, with him now as a puppeteer. That's it. There it is. While he thinks, Baru then enters the room, claiming that he'll be the one to play striker in their next match, and Isagi smiles, saying they can play a one-on-one battle for the position. The first goal wins. Isagi gives Baru possession of the ball, and then closed his eyes, activating this new form of metavision that had a unique pattern to it. Baru dribbles one way, but then Isagi shifts that way with his body, causing Baru to cross into a step over, heading in the opposite direction. Isagi then turns his body, cutting this off as well, shocking the king. Since when did he get so damn good at defense? Isagi then caused Baru to change his attack, doing cuts to get around, but Isagi backpedaled, keeping up with him. Baru then winds up his leg for a shot, but the ball is stolen before he could even release it, with our striker now heading in the opposite direction with Baru chasing after him. No, I can't lose. Not to him. Not again. Baru's own lion aura would appear, only to completely vanish when Isagi destroys him on the field. He drops the self-proclaimed king to the ground and scores the goal. Who knew that it was that easy all along? We then get to see a glimpse of Isagi's true aura, but I'll save that imagery for the World 5 match, which would happen the next day. With all 5 of them entering the room, they see their competition. As Isagi walks over, he only knows a little bit of English, and they only know a little bit of Japanese. He stated that the world of football was truly amazing, as he wanted to know what it was like. Could it actually be everything that he's imagined? Julian Loki was the one to answer this question, stating that it's all of that and more. Isagi was even more hyped with his aura slowly appearing. The match starts, and Isagi dribbles ahead with Loki guarding him, but he activates Metavision, leading him one way and then crossing him another, leading to a pass to Rin. The prodigy takes a chance to score the first goal, stating that it doesn't matter who they are. He plans to defeat them. Luna then states that his brother was more impressive, but they resume the game, with Loki now having the ball. He then dribbles around, getting right in front of Baru and Nagi. Oh, is this good enough? He then bursted through them with Godspeed, but Isagi was there to cut off his shot. Pretty impressive, but still not enough. Isagi is then seen running out of the way, confusing Loki until he realized it was too late. Tokimitsu was next to him, shoving him off of the ball, making him miss the shot. The ball is in the air, where Luna tries to recover it, but Nagi traps it first. This one is mine, so stay out of the way. He uses his new playstyle to then dribble around and make his way up the field, going for a shot, but Silva was in the way, and he was the one to block it. While the ball was still in play, Isagi grabs it, smiling. He was wide open, on the side of the field, with a small shooting window. This was when we see it. As he winds up for a shot, the puppeteer flow of Yoichi Isagi is shown. With him smiling through Metavision, he could see that everyone's strings were attached to him. They all led to him. Good. Now that I've got your attention, I'll make my declaration. The direct outburst slams into the net, leaving everyone starstruck, even Anri, who was watching with Ego, as Ego sits in silence, noting that this awakening was truly scary. The puppeteer of football, a player who can pull strings in any which way they choose, because they have that much of an impact on the field. Truly scary. Anri questions this, causing Ego to go more in depth. With this type of ability, one can simply take a step in one direction, completely changing the actions or thoughts of any player around them. He continues to go on about Isagi and his ability, but the match ends with their loss, with the score actually 4-5, with the World 5 just barely making it through due to a lucky goal. But Isagi was smiling as he tells Ego that he sees it now. Even the goddess of luck can't be controlled by his strings. Enri questions their loss, but Ego states that this awakened state or flow of Yoichi Isagi is not yet perfected. However, if he is able to perfect it, or at least master it to some degree, he will be able to control every player on the field at once. Isagi then walks off the field with his team, as now they have some time before they decide what's next, but they do have to learn the languages of other places, and Ego has a discussion with the other football officials, declaring the U20 match. Jinpachi Ego returns, stating that their first real-world challenge will be the U20 team, who have also recruited Itoshi Sai. With that, Rin notes that he has to defeat his brother in this upcoming match, while Isagi remembers a match played against a prodigy, who was more extraordinary than him at the time. Ego then explains that the World 5 matches and those who scored the most against the world-class players. With that, Isagi of course is at the top with 3 goals. Shido this time has 2, and Rin has 1, and so does everyone else under him. A new screen appears before all of them, with everyone now having to choose who they would play with. Once everyone had decided, the first match is declared, with Team A1 versus B1, as Isagi steps onto the pitch, where Shido was there with him. The two don't speak at all, and as the match begins, they clash. Before Isagi, he far outclasses him and runs ahead, with Nagi and Rin now defending him. Isagi's upgraded ego then appears as he sees the strings attached to each player. He feints going left, causing the strings to pull them in that direction, but then he bursted out with speed like Loki, going in the opposite towards the right. Isagi then notes that Nanase was closing in, so he smiled, getting ready to use the direct outburst, but Shido comes in out of nowhere. Isagi then laughs, just as I predicted. With Metavision and a puppeteer-like flow at his disposal, Isagi flicks the ball over the leg of Shido and Nanase. This time, he then performs a direct outburst scissor shot, as Shido calls him crazy, planning to send him right to hell. But Isagi tells him that he stands no chance, as his actions will be controlled by him in this match. The first match is an overwhelming victory of 5-1, with Isagi scoring every goal except for one that Shido would steal. And in the following matches, these two continue to clash, with Isagi showing his dominance over and over again. It gets to the point where Shido doesn't even know what he could do to destroy Isagi, causing this arc to conclude fast, with Ego going off to form the Blue Lock 11 team. And once he returns, he states the starting lineup, with Isagi as their striker. He had proved time and time again that he was capable of scoring, so why not put their faith into him? As Itoshi Rin was going to be in the cam position, the rest of the spots remain the same, as Ego tells them to rest, because this is their chance to change the world of football, taking it head on. Days go by, as Blue Lock's players are then seen suiting up, heading into the hallway. Isagi doesn't even speak to his opponents, but Itoshi Sai speaks to him. So you're their striker. I should have known since you stayed in Japan that you'd be a part of something this foolish. Isagi turns smirking. The first goal is mine. They walk out onto the grand stage with thousands at the ready. The kickoff then begins, and Isagi starts to run ahead alone. Sendo is the first defending him, but he's overwhelmed by the speed and strength of our striker. Then, Itoshi Sai, who was standing there in his way, looked around, noting that he wouldn't be able to get past him at this point. Isagi then chips the ball to the side, where Chigiri was able to grab it using his speed, heading down the field as well. With Blue Lock now on the height of their attack, the ball is sent to Itoshi Rin, who was in the middle. He goes to strike it, but Aiku sends it out with a header, leading to Isagi using his metavision and direct outburst to score the first goal from his positioning. Aiku looks back at the shot and the position, calling it luck, and Isagi states that even luck can be controlled by his strings. This is an intense match of football that has to go back and forth to keep things interesting, as the U20 players do hold their own against Blue Lock. They do get their own goal through Itoshi Sai, but even he realizes that the striker that he wanted to play with was Yoichi Isagi. After seeing him score again, he then knew that his younger brother stood no chance against this higher level of skill at all. These two generational talents go back and forth leading their teams, with Itoshi Sai leading them to another goal, shocking the Blue Lock players as it seems that he's getting into his own state of flow. Isagi himself found this a challenge, and it was so amusing. For once in his life, he wouldn't have to hold back. Here was where the world was watching. He could go all out and declare his strength. With them having a couple more minutes before halftime, Isagi looks to every player on his team. So this is what I have to truly work with. So be it. He passed it back to Rin and lets him duel his brother. Rin of course loses, and another goal is scored by Itoshi Sai, who comments to Rin that being a striker clearly was never for him. He can't even surpass a striker on his own team, let alone him. And with that, the two teams headed into the half, with Blue Lock being down 1 goal, as they needed to make some changes. Rin was also coming out of the game, as we have Baru and Rio subbing into the game, with Baru going up top with Isagi and Rio going to the midfield. They would then have some more changes, and actually they would sub out someone else to put Nagi or keep Nagi into the game, running a 4-3-3 false 9 formation. And with the U20 team being up, they see no reason to put someone like Shido in just yet. With Itoshi Sai carrying the load, they put even more weight relying on him completely, as when entering the match again, the aura of Itoshi Sai was prominent, as well as his eyes, noting that he was in a flow-like state. The U20 team then began with the ball, as they go on to their own attack. With Sendo not being fully realized just yet, the ball gets stolen from him. This begins a counter, with Nagi and Baru at the head of it. Rio is the one dishing out the passes and playmaking, leading to a cross through the middle. Sai sees it, and he goes to clash with Nagi, but Isagi strips the ball from the air and spins around the two of them, scoring a goal that ties the game. The crowd then roars for Blue Lock striker, with Ego stating to those on the bench that this is where the real game begins. So with the second half of Blue Lock now truly commencing, we get to see Yoichi Isagi's puppeteer abilities on full display against Itoshi Sai's own calculated flow. And I think this match will be even closer, and it will of course come down to a battle between both midfielders, Rio and Sai, where it would end in the victory of Sai, but through it all Isagi would appear, and the world around him was dark, as he could only see the players and the goal, and with each one of them a string was attached. So, he began manipulating them, with this all leading to him scoring the final goal, as I think it would be a lefty shot, because that's the only thing that would surprise someone like Aiku at this point, who would be man-marking Isagi. This marks the end of the U20 arc, meaning that Japan is starstruck from the young players, and the higher-ups in the association want to make a profit, which leads to the Egoist League. But let's go to the life outside Blue Lock, as a lot of things happen for players like Rin and Isagi, as Rin will be wondering what he truly wanted, if he could truly chase his brother, as it felt as if he was even further behind. And Isagi, he believes that this victory has officially allowed him to enter the gate of the new Gen 11 players. But what could come next? Of course, he didn't know of Ego's plan, but he wondered where this path could lead him. When returning to the facility, Isagi takes note of many U20 players that were here as well. With this, Jinpachi Ego appears before them, explaining how Blue Lock will begin its second phase with the Egoist League. Now it was time for all the players to pick the environment they wished to thrive in. When thinking about this version of Isagi, he could really go anywhere, but why not have him in Germany with Noah? Now walking in, he would greet the world's #1, as they would soon have their physical test where Kaiser comes in first, but Isagi was a close second, as the two would realize the other's strength. Noah could now see it as well. During their practices leading up to their first match, he would try to have them work together, but it wouldn't work at all, as well as some of the other players struggling to work with a certain striker, leading Noah to focus on 2 formations, one that benefited both strikers. If needed, Isagi could play the striker position with different players around him, and Kaiser could do the same. Although through their battles, Isagi could tell that someone like Kaiser would push him to his limits, especially with metavision. I think these two would instantly form a rivalry, with Kaiser actually watching out for Isagi more here, as he knows the potential of him from studying the U20 match. For their strength, I'd still say Kaiser is ahead, but not by too much at all. His experience and his Kaiser impact still put him ahead of Isagi. As the first match would appear in the Egoist League, it would be Germany versus Spain, with both teams sending out their starters. Isagi is currently on the bench, as Noah wishes to see how this lineup he's made to support Kaiser will work out first. And for the most part, it seems like it's working, but Spain does start out their match with Bachira's goal, making Isagi smile, saying that he's come a long way from when he used to know him. As he's able to play at this high of a level right now, it's almost astonishing. Kaiser and Ness still didn't seem worried and ran their own counter, getting through the players of Spain with ease and no trouble at all. Kaiser goes on to respond when the ball is stolen by Kunigami and the shot is missed thanks to Otoya. With that, Spain gets to go on another attack, but I think Kaiser and Ness will put a stop to it, as well as Grimm, who was working with them. If not them, Gagamaru will be the one saving the ball before Spain could take a 2-0 lead. Now with the ball out of play, it gives Noah a chance to shift the attack as he subs in Isagi for Kunigami, actually telling Isagi to play logically. Going into the match, he activates Metavision and sees the strings of players like Raichi and a few others. The ball is back into play, and Isagi receives a pass, giving the ball to Ness, who sends it towards Kaiser at the front lines. Isagi expected as much, but still moved ahead, watching the monster duo tread down the field. Spain's defense stood no chance, leading to a shot and goal from Michael Kaiser. Isagi sits back to analyze the last play, noting that if he's not careful, the strings that he sees can even wrap around himself. Spain now has to make the next attack count, or the game will go in favor of Germany. With them heading up the field, I actually think Isagi and Ness, as well as Raichi, defend close. Isagi watches Bachira turn his body towards him, shifting the strings of certain players. Isagi then sees an opening, running ahead. As Bachira goes to receive the ball, Ness and Raichi clash into each other, sending it into the air. As a free ball appears, Isagi traps it and now heads down the field with Kaiser. The two of them don't even pass. It's just Isagi running, using Grimm on the wing to get closer and closer to goal. When Isagi is in range, he gets the ball, but defenders guard him close. And he goes to take his direct outburst shot, but Kaiser appears. Not this time. He then goes to knock Isagi off balance, but realizes his mistake. Isagi is able to spin around Kaiser, making it so the defenders can't reach him because Kaiser was blocking them. This leads to his first goal in the Egoist League. Come on, Kaiser. If you wish to have my strings of fate attached to you as well, then keep attacking me over and over again. With this goal, the Masters sub into the game, and I think Levinho would get his own goal by demolishing Germany's defense. Now, with only one left, they needed to score again, but so did Germany. Noah looks around, lining up his ideal with Kaiser, assisting him and Ness. Isagi runs with them, waiting for the pass, and it happens, with Noah getting double-teamed by Levinho and Bachara. Isagi now watches as the ball gets closer and closer to him, but he smiles, as Ness would then try to intercept it, stealing the ball. But Isagi was already out of the way, causing Ness to be sandwiched by defenders, as he couldn't see them due to his lack of vision. Isagi now takes the loose ball, ending the match with his final goal, as Kaiser is of course mad at Ness for his mistake, and he was made into a puppet by Isagi. But he doesn't care about this win at all. He only wants to defeat Isagi and remain the king of Germany. He then walks off the pitch, with those around the world now having even higher expectations of the young striker. With a little bit more time before their next match, Isagi begins to train and work on his metavision, as well as his puppeteer string abilities. He then tries to control it more, but it seems he could only do it when inside a real match, where there were others around him. So, there was no way to progress it at all, even if he wanted to. As for his body, it was great, up to standard actually. Now, he just needed more experience and techniques. So he looks back into their last match. As he watches film of Levinho, he notices the way he dribbled, and Isagi decided to take that style, adding it to his own game. Of course he was dribbling, but now it was heightened to an even greater aspect. This all leads to the match against England, as Ryo and Seichiro appear before the new lineup of Isagi and Kaiser. Ryo comments how Nagi was already ready to face him, and Isagi looked towards the prodigy. He seemed different, as this version of Nagi had already awakened his own ego, and ideal here, way before he even got to play them, as his drive was much different, as England also had others like Chigiri and Agi to support him. And this Manshine City team looks even more dangerous than before. As they began with the ball, their attack was explosive, starting with Agi at the back of their center line. All the players from Blue Lock then scattered into a diamond formation. Once they were in position, Chris Prince stood, telling his strikers to go. Agi sent the ball to Ryo, and it's almost as if it happened at an instant, as it was sent to Chigiri, who then bursted by Ness with speed, getting in range and scoring a 44 Panther shot. With that, England makes their declaration to Germany and the world, as Kaiser and Isagi both don't react, as the two know the next goal is one of theirs. Kaiser then passes the ball to Ness, who runs up the field, now being marked by Nagi, before even crossing the halfway point. Not this time. Nagi swipes once, missing, and then again. Ness then reacts, but Nagi turns, poking the ball out. Luckily, Corona recovers it and gets a chip pass to our protagonist, who was in position. As the ball floats his way, time seemingly moves slow as he activates Metavision. Using his new dribbling that combines the strings of his puppeteer flow, he weaves through the defenders and goes for a shot. As I actually think, before he could get it off, Kaiser would steal this goal due to his higher level of Metavision, which shocks Isagi, but he's able to recover and adapt even further, understanding how deeply this ability of kinetic vision truly goes. Leading on, the match then continues with Seichiro Nagi scoring a wonder goal after a tough-fought battle in Germany's defense, but this goal was one that could be replicated, unlike the one in canon, now in an awakened state. But both Isagi and Kaiser had unlocked their own state and had their own plans, with Isagi looking to Corona and Yukimiya, while Kaiser has Ness and Grimm. The ball is back into play and both teams fight hard in the center of the pitch, leading to an open pass to Kaiser. However, Ryo was right there to block it off, and from this loose ball, Isagi appears stealing it, as now the real game could truly begin. While showing off his new dribbling style, Noah notes that it's very similar to that of Levinho, although it's just catered to Isagi's body type, meaning he could use it at 100%. without holding back at all or doing any unnatural movements to slow him down. Isagi is able to score the second goal, using Kaiser as a distraction to cover himself once again. But Kaiser was tired of this, saying that he wouldn't fall for that trap anymore. This causes both masters to then enter the game, as the two sides are able to go back and forth. But here's where Isagi sees through Chris Prince, countering his knuckle shot and then going on the attack with Noel Noah and Corona. Corona is actually fouled here, leading to the play stopping, causing Noel Noah to turn to Isagi and ask who they should sub in because Corona was slightly injured. Who can help him best envision his own goal? Isagi looks around, picking Jin Kiora to sub into the game. This shocks many, as his talents haven't been seen that much, but Isagi can see through him. Noel Noah then begins setting up the free kick, but Isagi tells him to let Jin take it. This is when he sets it up, and in the minds of Ryo, Prince, Kaiser, and Noah, Isagi plans to end it here. With this set piece, he wants to end the game. Isagi looks at Jin and takes a step back. It's an indirect, so he can't shoot it, so he looks around, seeing Isagi on the left side of the field. He then watches as Isagi dashes towards the right, heading near the corner of the box. This was far away from everyone, but many did follow him. Jin then ran into the ball, connecting with it, shocking many with the speed and power of it. The ball then curves to the outside, heading out of bounds, but Isagi is able to jump towards it as his foot makes impact with it, allowing a scissor shot to head right into the near post. This is when it narrowly goes into the goal, and Jin breathes heavy, and so does Isagi. But in sync, both scream in excitement at their super goal, a one-of-a-kind pass into a one-of-a-kind volley, and all around the world, Blue Lock gained more attention from this play alone. Kaiser was so pissed, and he was being man-marked, so he couldn't have done anything to follow Isagi. Ness and Ryo were too slow to even catch his burst in speed that came out of nowhere, but Noel Noah can see that if that play didn't work, they may have lost due to Isagi being completely gassed out, as he was celebrating on one knee. While sitting down, Isagi thinks that his whole body aches from that last shot, as he overextended his leg just a bit to where he feels some pain. So now, he looks to Chris Prince. A body that could change the world and how I play football. That's what I desire. With Isagi's rank slowly climbing higher, we see the training that he begins to undergo, increasing every part of muscle that he has in order to maximize all of his abilities. At first he had thought he hit his limit, but because he was still young, he was still growing, so there isn't a set limit just yet, leading to a more sleek but defined build for Isagi, as he promotes his stamina and his shooting power. But now Noel Noah and Germany prepare for the Ubers, with Isagi noting the king has been on a rampage as of lately. Kaiser also begins preparing for this match, but the Ubers have them both on their radar, and it seems that they're on high alert when the teams would meet up, as Lorenzo walks around both of them stating that they're pretty interesting, but Isagi was more than Kaiser. As when the match begins, Isagi is able to use Jin, who was starting, in order to get the ball past midfield. Isagi then makes his move to get open, but Lorenzo was guarding him heavy. This is when Kaiser and Ness would try to score, but it doesn't work, as Aiku, Ryu, and Nico would stop his shot. Now the Ubers begin their counter, being led by Don Lorenzo himself at the forefront with his zombie dribbling, leading to another open pass to Baru. But as the king would go to shoot, Isagi reappears, stopping this goal as well. It makes sense now. You two are the heart of the Ubers, a king and his royal jester. What a freaking joke. Isagi begins his own counter with Baru following close, but the ball is chipped over his head, and Isagi runs into the opposing half, performing an outbreak knuckleball once getting the ball again, shocking his opponents and earning the first goal of this match. As Snuffy comments how it seems after every match, Isagi learns a new skill from the master strikers. This match was going to be much more interesting than he had realized. With the Ubers' hyper-defensive counters, they posted constant threats to Germany's team, leading to the Uber scoring their own goals through Baru. To win this match, though, both teams knew that they needed some sort of super goal, because just regular goals wouldn't be enough. This is when Yo Hayori was subbed into the game for Corona, as now Isagi had two passers to rely on, which completely changed the outcome of the game, as I think Kaiser would get the second goal of the match, and Isagi would score the final one, with Baru and Don Lorenzo getting counter goals throughout this match. But Isagi does have the final goal, thanks to Hayori, after Snuffy was defeated, not in a one-on-one, but through strategy, and by using his own flow and metavision to manipulate the master striker. And with Noel No on the pitch, I don't think Snuffy could just ignore him, leading to another overwhelming victory for Germany, leaving them undefeated in the Neo-Egoist League, as now, only one team stood in their way. But I'll let your mind imagine how this final match would go.